Hello, guys. Clarissa, I don't know if you're able to speak. Let me unmute you. Okay. Will, I think you're on now.
Can you hear me?
Yep, perfect. Okay.
Brilliant.
Yeah, let me. Okay, Kevin. Kevin,
Yeah.
you can speak now. Just in case. Okay, Clarissa. And I guess James.
James Bernard, yes.
Yep. Okay, excellent. Okay, if anyone if you want to speak, I think let me know. I think Otto is also.
We got Otto on the call.
Yep. Okay.
I'm here.
We got
Yeah,
Jade.
you are.
Good stuff.
Okay, so we are recording, guys. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that you are all able to speak, and can you turn on your cameras? By the way, I don't know if you want, but if any of you feel that you want to do it, then you can. Okay, there you go.
That's me.
Excellent.
It's James.
Sure.
That's Kevin. Perfect.
Hello. It's great to see you guys. My first time with you, so yeah, pleasure to have you. Okay, let me introduce everyone into our community, this amazing project. This is the people and the great team from Jade Vault. We announced that the voting was going to happen, and actually the voting is already live. So okay, the AMA session, this Ask Me Anything, will be going while the voting is live on our panel. It will be running for 72 hours. So okay, let's see how passionate the revenue community is for the Jade and the blockchain NFTs. So okay, guys, you have a list of questions that we've been collecting through the past days.
We did.
Yeah, you can just answer in the order that you wish. You can group them. You can just. Okay, I will be here in the background just in case if you need something. But okay, the mic is all yours, so you can start.
Okay. All
right.
Thank
you, guys.
Thank you. So yes, thank you for all the questions. There's a lot, which is great. Which means I guess there's lots of curiosity and lots of interest. Some of the questions were sort of, you could say, duplicates. So we've done our best to try and refine it down to answering everybody's points. If there are any questions we haven't answered for somebody, then we apologize and we will try and rectify that in the chat afterwards. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to introduce two members of our team that weren't on the video call last time we did a call, Kevin Fu and James Bernard. And I'm going to start with Kevin. One of the questions I got in the chat was questioning whether we had any mining experience. Although we're a trading company, not a mining company, but obviously it's closely related to mining. I have quite a lot of experience, but in comparison to Kevin, I would say I have almost no experience because he's got 53 years of it. So Kevin, could you please just introduce yourself and tell everybody a bit about your background?
Thanks, Will. 53 years in the business. I'm Australian, was born and grew up in an old gold mining town called Ballarat in Australia. Graduated as a metallurgical engineer from there, did some geology mining, and then went on to London, Imperial College. Broadly, I've worked in all aspects of mining and metallurgy and geology. That's underground mining. I've been an underground miner, open pit, metallurgical, smelting, hydromet, you name it. And I've worked in pretty much every continent except Antarctica, and that's meant that it's a great business, mining. I love it. I'm old, as you can see, but I still get up every morning excited about what I'm going to do. And this project has occupied myself and my little team for about 16 years now. So it's a slow burner, like most mining projects. And it's really started to catch fire, as you say, when Will and I met up, and he explained how that happened in the previous call. So that's me. I'm a representative of the mining company that owns the resource and an owner, and we're also a shareholder in Jade Vault, which I do think is an amazing and very high potential concept, and I'm delighted to be a participant in it.
Thanks, Kevin. That's great. James, over to you.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me on. I'm James Bernard. I'm actually located in Dubai in the UAE. My background is originally commodity trading as well. So I come from a sort of mining, aggregates, ferroalloys, minor metals, that kind of industry. So I'm not a novice when it comes to mining, at least, or trading. But for the last 17 years, I've been in the UAE, and I've been working for an economic zone, and I developed the crypto ecosystem for a free zone called DMCC back beginning in the sort of 2014. So we developed a lot of the rules and regulations around crypto trading. We set up the crypto center. We invited a lot of companies from around the world to sort of come and get licensed in Dubai and set up their companies. And along those sort of early years of 2015, 16 to sort of 2020, I worked with the Dubai government to initiate crypto ventures and blockchain into the sort of ecosystem there, and in both governmental and semi-governmental projects. And whilst doing that, I also became an investor and founder in various Web3 projects. And of course, Jade Vault and Jade City are amongst those, and probably top of my list at the moment. Really exciting projects in themselves, combining sort of Web 2, Web 3, and obviously physical assets. And today I actually am the Chief Commercial Officer, also as another hat that I wear of Ralston-Saul, digital asset Oasis, which is the latest free zone for crypto and Web3 companies wanting to set up in the UAE. So I'm very busy setting that up and inviting companies to come and see what activities we can license them for. So really involved in the crypto ecosystem in the UAE.
Fantastic, James. Thank you very, very much. So guys, what we're going to do is we're going to crack on with this quite long list of questions. I've tried to group them together so that we can have do it in batches. So the first batch of questions is really regarding about Jade market, just about Jade itself and questions on that. So I'm going to read the question, I'm going to answer them, or I'm going to ask one of Kevin or James to answer them. So question number one. Jade is not so popular in Europe and the USA. Do you see enough potential in the Asian market to grow your industry? Well, that's a good question. Yes, it's very much something that's loved in Asia. I think I've mentioned this before, but the market in China alone is about $50 billion. It's actually about 10% bigger than the diamond trade in China. You've then also got Hong Kong, Taiwan, Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand, and then there's generally that you could say the diaspora, Chinese diaspora all across the world. So yeah, the market's absolutely massive, and at the same time, the popularity of Jade is growing in the Western world. There was actually a big article in the Financial Times in London a couple of weeks ago talking about how big jewelry brands are starting to incorporate Jade as the new stone for their products. So hopefully that answers that. Now, question two, this is going to be one for Kevin. Considering the immense potential, of the $50 billion jade market. What specific strategies does Jade Vault have in place to capture a significant share of this market? Kevin, over to you.
Well, it's a darn good question. And how do you break into a market that's been going for probably a couple of thousand years and has been focused in China? The answer is carefully, and you study it for a long time, which we've done. We've studied this market for more than 16 years. We know how the jade market works, and we know now its potential. It's still very opaque. You can't look up on a web page what the annual, what the current jade price is. But we do know and have established that on an annual basis, the market is pretty huge, at least 50 billion a year, and that's in metal terms competes with gold. It's a very large market indeed, but also supply is dropping. The Burmese supply has dropped by over 60%, almost 70% in the last 3 years. The curve has just gone down like that. And there's much rarer markets that are held. And I think that supply is dropping because the mines are actually running out. We've had our own people. My own son visited Burma and China for over a 3-year period. And it's really, really important to recognise that 99% of the jade that comes into China is from Burma, and that supply is rapidly diminishing. In terms of competition, I think it's disappearing under its own steam because, if the supply diminishes, competition diminishes.
Brilliant. Thanks, Kevin. Something I might just add to that on when you hear about time periods that Kevin's been studying this for 16 years, the mining industry takes a long time. So Kevin first heard about the project. The project was actually discovered, if you want to go further than back, 1950s during the Soviet Union. So it's taken many, many years and many millions of dollars to bring the project to a point where it could be ready to go into production. And this is where Jade Vault's benefited hugely, is we basically provided the finance to get over that final hurdle, which was the hurdle to get into production, and that was achieved last year. So it's only in very, very recent history that jade has actually come out of the mine, and that's been the big step, and that's why Kevin said it's been a slow burn, and then it's caught on fire because suddenly there's a lot of jade being produced. Okay. The next question, how does Jade Vault plan to differentiate itself from other jade suppliers and create a unique value proposition for its customers? Pretty simple. One way is it is ethically sourced. Now, not every person in the market cares about that, but the world is certainly changing in such a way that, certainly in the Western world, that's very, very important, and increasingly in other countries. So the stuff that comes from Burma is not ethically sourced, to be blunt. It's a bit of a horror show. So this is the first large-scale source of ethically sourced jade. Sorry. Also, the pieces of jade that we get from the mine are very large in size. This changes the dynamic in terms of what you can make out of it. Traditionally, you basically made small carvings, bangles, rings, stuff like that. Using our jade, we've made entire tables out of it. So there's a whole new area of the market, which is essentially architectural jade, which is untouched, and we're definitely seeing a lot of interest in the Chinese market for that. Next question: what are the potential challenges for coming into the market? What are the potential challenges we face? Kevin, I'm going to get that over to you. I guess specifically regarding people not being used to having jade that's not from Burma.
Yeah, there's basically two challenges. People don't understand that jade can come from other places other than Burma, and so you have that challenge. We overcome that one by, again, spending a lot of time in the Burmese and Chinese markets doing blind tests with our material against Burmese stuff. But being the scientifically based background that I have and my team, we had to make sure that our source of jade, our mine, was in fact jadeite, the mineral jadeite, and it is. And we did a lot of work. We sponsored PhD students on research. We did a lot of mineralogy. And fortunately, in 2018, 16 and 18, the Chinese did us a huge favour because they introduced a new standard for jadeite, called Fei Shui. Type A Fei Shui means pure jadeite. And that had a geological and a mineralogical definition, and our material exactly fits hand in glove with that definition. So our deposit, our material, our products are all Fei Shui jewellery quality jadeite. The other thing is, does it look like Burmese jade? Yeah, because the blind tests have shown that. I do think that because the Burmese jadeites have been alluvial and running around in rivers for millions of years, a lot of the faults and a lot of the fractures that naturally come in rock have been broken away, and you have basically pebbles or rocks that are turned into the jewellery. Ours is a primary deposit where we have blocks, not rocks, almost like a quarry. That's another differentiator. The other challenge is working in China, and we've had an office and an establishment in southern China now for more than 7 years, and that's again been a learning curve. Who do you talk to? Who can cut this stuff? Who can help you? Who can turn you over? And we've learned all of those things. And remember, COVID meant that China was literally shut down for 3 years. And in fact, China only opened in March this year. So we had a 3-year hiatus. But we're ready. We have the connections. We have the experience. We've already imported 100 or 200 tons of jadeite into China on a trial basis to make sure there was no mess ups. And that's working quite well.
Brilliant. Thanks a lot, Kevin. Okay. Next question. How does Jade Vault accumulate jadeite to build the largest treasury of jadeite in the world? It's quite simple. We get it from one mine. It's called a primary deposit, which means it's not pebbles that you're digging out of a river. It's basically a single large piece of jade that weighs several 100,000 tons. So in terms of access to the jade, it's great. And that's our partner. And Kevin's on the call, and he is our partner and also part of our team. So that's the easy bit. Second, another question. Does Jade Vault provide any additional services beyond selling? The answer is no. I mean, basically, for ourselves, we obviously, we buy it, we transport it, process it, store it, and sell it, but we don't provide services for like third parties. Okay. Next question. Hang on, I'm just seeing because we've answered some of these already. All right. Would you consider partnering with other projects that have the same vision as you? I think this is probably related to the blockchain side of things. So the blockchain platform Jade City, which we're building, that's obviously designed to trade jadeite. We wouldn't partner with other jadeite producers because I don't think other jadeite producers would meet our level of standards in terms of the ethically sourced side of things. With our jadeite, we know exactly where it comes from. There's just no question there. And we would never want to take the risk of essentially blood jadeite or somebody else's jadeite getting into the system and spoiling what we're working very hard to create. Could the platform ever be used for other minerals, maybe nephrite jade from Canada or something like that? Yes, if we trusted the mine owners, possibly in the future, the blockchain platform could be used to do that. The concept that we've created in terms of the technology, the tokenization of the minerals, that could be applied to a lot of other minerals. So there's definitely a lot of room for growth on that side, but it's not our primary focus. Number 10, in what ways does Jade Vault differentiate between jadeite and nephrite, the two minerals that constitute jade? And why does focus exclusively on jade. Okay, so jadeite. Sorry, the word jade is a generic term. It refers to two different minerals, jadeite and nephrite. Jadeite is the more valuable of the two and generally comes from Burma. Not where ours comes from, but that's where the existing supply comes from. And nephrite was traditionally mined in China and other places in the world, Central America. And nowadays, most nephrite in the world is actually mined in Canada. Nephrite is a lot cheaper. And obviously, we're jadeite snobs, so we'll say it's a lot uglier. So jadeite's the really beautiful stuff. It was so beautiful, in fact, that when the Chinese emperor, who had traditionally, the imperial family had spent thousands of years enjoying nephrite, when they were introduced to jadeite in 1750, he was so excited that he sent an army of 100,000 people down to Burma to take over that part of northern Burma. It was a disaster, and they all died of disease and hunger. Anyway, I won't linger on that point. Right, the next question. Do you have any plans to attract non-crypto investors to join your project? James, I'm going to ask you to answer that one.
Thanks. Yeah, I guess it's not like it used to be in terms of crypto investors, non-crypto investors. I mean, some people choose to keep things separate, but what we found is, we probably have over 50% of investment from non-crypto investors so far. And I think if you look at the project, it attracts a lot of people from all aspects because it has a sort of interesting element of mine financing, commodity financing, but Web 2, Web 3 also. So there's a great mix of investors that we already have earmarked, and a lot that have invested already. And I think that'll just continue. And in terms of Jade City, where we're going to be developing a lot into sort of NFTs and DeFi, I think it's really important to emphasize that we're very focused on making it non-complex. So Web 2 meets Web 3 so that the users can use credit cards and other sources of payment to get into the system. It's not complex with wallets and everything. So it lends itself to Web 3 and Web 2, I think. So I hope that answers the question. Okay.
Yeah, sounds like a pretty good answer to me. All right, we got another question. Given that 70% of the processed jade will be stored in the UAE for long-term purposes, what measures does Jade Vault have in place to ensure security? And in general, sort of how does it plan to deal with the storage in the UAE? James, that's definitely one for you.
Sure, thanks. Yeah, we've been very busy with that already. So we've been talking to various third-party storage facilities. I think it's you differentiate between the larger sized shipments that we have. So you get boulders of several thousand kilograms, several tons, that is. So I guess up to sort of 7-8 tons. So you can't really transport those too far afield. But in any case, those are under lock and key in third-party warehouses and with high security. Where we have smaller units of, say, 1 kilo blocks, those and smaller sort of jewelry pieces and other emblems and pennants and stuff like that, those all be kept in vault. So I've worked with DMCC for the past 17 years, as I mentioned, and we have some of the largest vaulting facilities for gold and precious metals and stones. So conversations are ongoing with that. And as I mentioned, also I work for the Ras Al Khaimah government now, so it's also one of the areas where most mining in the UAE is happening. Not jade mining, but other types of mining. So cutting facilities and storage facilities are something that also could be positioned there as well. So I think it's along with that and constant surveys of what stock we have and making sure that we have third-party analysis of this is hugely important. It'll be reported as well to sort of investors so that we give comfort that actually that material is in storage. So that's hugely important, and thus the name Jade Vault.
Brilliant, thanks, James. That's great. Right, on to the next station. Section. This is regarding processing. The question: with a substantial amount of the jade mined already, which is 1.4 million kilos. That's not mined. There's actually a lot more than that mined, but 1.4 million kilos is our part of it that belongs to Jade Vault right now. Can you elaborate on the process of processing the jade and the steps that are involved? So yes, very easily. So it comes out of the mine generally as very large boulders. And the deeper we go in the mine, those will be more cut out. On the top of the mine, it's more weathered, so they're broken out because you've got natural fractures and cracks. The first thing is to transport the boulders. So they go 18,000 kilos at a time into 20-foot containers. Those are shipped over to China. The first part of the processing is to cut the boulders into sort of blocks or panels, like large pieces, but with regular, with flat sides essentially. So you lose about 25% when you do that, but then you're left with something more valuable because it's already half cut. From there, you then look at the material and decide what it's going to be most suitable for, and also, what are the sales going to be? So is it cut into jewelry or into panels, for furniture, or for the Lumistone panels? So that's the next bit of cutting. That's all contracted out to third parties. And that's the most expensive part of the process, is processing it, but it's also the bit where you add the most money. So in terms of value, so that's the process. Next question, how do the shareholders benefit from this? Well, the more we process it, the more it grows in value. We're buying a kilo at $4 right now. That's probably worth about 50 just without doing very much to it. And by the time you process it, I'll take the extreme case of processing it into a ring. You yield hundreds of dollars, in some cases thousands of dollars per kilo when you process it that far. So it's just that gradual uplift. It's mining it, transporting it, semi-processing it, fully processing it. Every single one of those steps you do create value for the shareholders. And the shareholders, one share is backed by 1 kilo of jade. So essentially you can do the maths on that. So that's that. All right, next section. ESG questions. This is definitely one for Kevin. What steps has Jade Vault taken to ensure the ethical sourcing and sustainable mining practices of the jade? So essentially, how do we do it so differently, Kevin? Or how do you do it so differently as you do mine?
Well, because of our experience in mining, we know lots about ESG. ESG existed in mining long before this term came out. It was health and safety. Then mining, your prime objective is to do it clean, do it safe. And where we mine, it's a very small team. We have incredible ESG credentials because the mining doesn't use any external chemicals or explosives or aerial or liquid or other waste. And the only byproduct, if you like, is water, and which we use for cutting the jade. So it's a clean mining situation. Now, on the other hand, where 95%, 99% of the world's jade comes from now is in Burma, that is a living nightmare for the miners. They have to mine this alluvial stuff where there's so much hand sorting goes on, and because it's so competitive, you may have seen that when the dump trucks dump a load of waste or low-grade ore, there's literally thousands of miners race to it, tap it with steel rods and try and find the jade. So ours is nothing like that. It's fully mechanised, big equipment, probably a team no more than 30 people, and we can mine a lot. We mined, for instance, 15,000 tonnes or something like that in the last quarter of last year, using basic mobile equipment. So our ESG, we're very comfortable with that.
Brilliant. Thanks, Kevin. And then there's another question on ESG, which I'll answer, is how do you ensure that ethical practices are used in the processing phase? So this is once the jade, let's say, reaches China and later in other countries will be using. So I think probably people are concerned, is processing jade like a sweatshop type activity? It's a pretty skilled process, processing jade. It's not like anybody can do it. It's generally quite small workshops that do it, quite often family owned. But there are a lot of people who work in that industry, a lot of people, hundreds of thousands of people work in that industry across China, particularly focused in Guangdong area. If you're a highly skilled jade carver, which is obviously a small percentage of all the carvers, you can earn between $100,000 to $200,000 a year. It's one of the highest paid jobs actually in China. It's been a highly skilled carver, but obviously most people don't fall into that category. In our case, before we do any processing with anybody, we obviously go and do inspections to make sure that we're happy that everybody's been treated well and it's, you know, a good organization. So relatively easy to do that. Right. Moving on to the next section. Does the bear market or current market conditions affect future plans and strategies? Well, we're only a year old, so I'd argue we were born in the bear market. We were forged in the bear market. So there's several things here. One is it's a bit, I mean, generally the world's financial situation is not great, but we're not only a crypto project. We are obviously the bear market has affected crypto more than anything. You know, we're a trading gemstone project, and the Jade market is actually pretty bouncy at the moment in a positive way. So that's been good, but of course it doesn't make it any easier to raise money in a bear market. How do we manage that risk? Well, one way is, you know, Jade Vault itself, the offtake company. It's our overheads are tiny. We have a small team, and the entire team, pretty much to this point, is still all founders, i.e. we all have an interest in the company, we all have a stake in the company. So people have been very prepared to, you know, they're not too interested in taking much out of the company. They're more interested in putting stuff into the company and creating value. So just a very loyal, small team with low overheads. All the money we raise pretty much goes to the mine. You know, our mandate is to send 80% of everything we raise to the mine to buy Jade. And, you know, we've kept to that. I actually did the numbers yesterday. We're at like 77.8%. So close enough. We're at like close to 80%, which is good. So we've kept to that. Yes, there we go. Hopefully that's what's good. Sorry, not what's good. That's how we're dealing with the bear market. Another question about the bear market. At the moment, all tokens go down in price, even with great partnerships, hype marketing and working products. What challenges do you have to make your project strong and popular? Well, I would argue that to build a project like this, and particularly Jade City, the crypto side of it, to build it in the middle of a bull market would be very, very difficult. Trying to do anything in the middle of a bull market is quite difficult because everybody kind of loses their mind with euphoria as their portfolios go up in value at like 50% a day. Bear markets are actually a nice quiet time in which you can get things done. And I hope the bear market, I mean, not for my own crypto, but generally I hope that the bear market lasts, you know, maybe another 9 months or a year or, you know, something like that. So it's just calm time where we can build. The other thing I'd say about bear markets is if we didn't have bear markets, you know, so many awful projects which exist in the blockchain space, you know, they need to get cleaned out of the system. And that doesn't mean to say that more won't pop up. But I'm hoping that this next wave will be a bit more sophisticated in terms of, you know, there will be more real projects, more, you know, maybe less Pepe coins, and more, you know, real world asset projects. And certainly real world assets are a big trend. So, you know, get yourself ready in the bear market, and when the bull market hits, then everybody can enjoy the fruits of our labor. That's the idea. Next question. What is the difference between you and other real world assets? Well, there are obviously gold projects out there and various stone projects. I think the biggest difference is that we have this massive arbitrage in terms of what we're paying for the Jade and what it's worth. And we've got this access to this because we financed the mine to get into production. So, you know, if you were doing a gold project, you can't buy cheap gold. Maybe you get a 2 or 3% discount, but basically you can't buy cheap gold and you can't sell it for a multiple of what you buy it for. In the case of Jade, you know, we're buying at a very, very large discount and because we've taken the risk in financing the mine, and now we're reaping the rewards of that. So that's the big difference, I guess. Right. Next section, profit generation. How do you generate profits and money to keep your project going? What is your revenue model? So that's very simple. It's to do with sales, which we haven't got to that point yet. We've done some test sales, but the profit is created by, firstly, you buy the Jade, and although you buy the Jade and it's worth, you know, you pay $5, and then you're sitting on an asset worth 50. So you have this theoretical uplift in value. We all know that unless you actually sell some, you can't realize any of that value. So for us, it's to then process that jade, starting off by processing 30% of it, and putting that into the market, generating cash from that, and actually getting that cash back to our shareholders. Our plan is to get $15 back to shareholders for every share, and with a share costing $5, so 3 times your money, and to start getting that back to shareholders within 18 months. So in order to do that, we need to get the sales going. In order to get the sales going, we need to process, and in order to process, we are raising money to do that. Okay, next question. A lot of projects like to talk about their long-term vision and mission, but what are your short-term objectives? What are you focusing on right now? Okay, that's very easy. Right now is keeping the mining funded, and so they get more out of the ground. Every kilo that comes out of the ground is another kilo that we can be sure will allow them to honor the offtake agreement. So already there's the first 8 million kilos, which is 5 million plus 2.9 million. 5 million plus 3 million that's coming into the project that has actually been mined, but there's obviously another 20 million kilos after that, so we've got to keep that process going. The next thing we need to do is just get jade out. I'd like to get some jade into not only China but also into the UAE, and the most important thing is to get sales going. Our first batch of material that we want to get ready for sales is going to be 10,000 kilos that we'll process. I know that doesn't sound like very much, it's just 10 tons, but it's actually, in money terms, that's quite significant. Get that processed, get that sold, recirculate the money, and hopefully that creates the snowball effect to continue going. All right, next section. Now we're getting into the blockchain side of things. So this is more, so I'll keep on plowing through and answering these questions. Okay, what is the added value to your company of using blockchain and using crypto? So yeah, you could say, well, this is a project where you buy jade, process jade, sell jade, and you could just do that all day long. And that's true, but if you actually take into account the amount of jade in our offtake agreement alone and the amount of jade that the mining company has essentially in reserve, it's a lot. It's an awful lot. It's actually more than could be sold without causing some kind of damage to the market. So what we need to do is we actually need to increase our share of the market rather than damage the market. And we see that using essentially tokenized jade, jade NFTs, so essentially allowing blockchain to democratize access to that market is a way of us growing awareness of what we're doing. So essentially building our own brand, and also just making it easier for people to buy jade. It's very hard to buy jade. I mean, you can go to a shop and buy jade. It's not hard in that way, but if you want to buy blocks of jade or the raw material, to do that without getting, basically ripped off, it's very, people color it or dip it in acid to make it more transparent or inject it with resin to make it look less cracked. And with a laboratory, you can find all of that stuff out, but the average person is not going to go to that length. So if we can create a place where they can use a blockchain, they can come and buy it, they know the provenance of it, and they can be 100% sure that it hasn't been dyed, dipped in acid, or pumped with resin. I think that's very valuable. Also, the Financial Times, the UK Financial Times, last year did an article about Chinese investors increasingly using jade as a store of value. So like we use gold as a store of value in let's say in England where I am, but using jade as a store of value is becoming more and more popular in China. And you need to make that easy for people to do. And rather than having a jade block delivered to your house and then having to keep it somewhere and then hard to sell it, why not just have a jade NFT that's backed up by a jade block sitting in a vault in the UAE? Make it more liquid and easier to do. Right. Next question. Why should I, as an investor, want to purchase your token? Well, as an investor, you're actually purchasing shares, and as a result of purchasing the shares, you will be issued with the token. So the token, I guess for all intents and purposes, we call it an airdrop. You get the token. 70% of the Jade City tokens will be distributed as an airdrop, or you'll be able to claim it essentially to the shareholders of the project. So that's the first thing. Now, anyway, why would this token be valuable and why would you want to hold it? So you've got Jade Vault, which will generate money from trade and Jade and all that stuff. And that's where, you know, a lot of the money is going to be created. But then you've also got Jade City, the blockchain platform where people can lend money and earn Jade. Jade City will earn lots of money in its own right. And the profits that are generated by Jade City, 70% of those profits will be distributed to the Jade City token holders. And it will be distributed. So let's say you're a Jade City token holder. I don't know, you got your 100 tokens that you got because you're a shareholder. You stake them, and the profits from the city will be used to buy more Jade City tokens out of the market, which will push the price up, and those will be distributed back to you as a token holder. So it's a completely different model than your average staking thing where you stake something and then they just keep churning out more tokens from the treasury and it creates inflation and the price drops. There will be a fixed amount of tokens. Those tokens will be given to the shareholders and to the team members that build the blockchain platform, basically, and the advisors, right? So there's just those tokens, not thousands and thousands of random people owning our tokens, dumping them. You will then stake those tokens, profits will be generated, and those profits will buy the tokens out of the free market. That will push the price up and distribute it to the token holders. Of course, then you can sell them and maybe push the price down again a bit, but basically it's a sustainable model based on profit and not just based on printing tokens. Right, the next question, the roadmap. Okay, I've answered that one already. When building a complex project, which part of this entire undertaking is most difficult and most stressful for you? Well, it probably depends on which member of the team you ask, because we've all got different stresses. But in terms of something that's quite complex, I'd say there's two items. One is Jade is quite hard to value. It can be $10 a kilo, like the worst Jade out there, and it can be millions of dollars for a single piece of jewelry that's made out of Jade. And when we're processing in the stuff from our mine, it will come out in all different shapes and forms. Broadly speaking, 30% commercial level, which is the middle one, and then 70% utility. But there will also be imperial jade in there, high level, high grade commercial. So each piece needs to be valued almost on an individual basis, and that does bring in a level of complexity and expertise to do that, and it's quite complex. It's very exciting because it's always like a treasure hunt. You see, if you find something amazing. But anyway, that's complex. The other thing is security. If you, I don't mean security once it's made to store, it's not too bad. But if you send in a giant block of jade like that weighs 4,000 kilos and you're turning it into 1,000 items, the security during processing, how do you prevent somebody saying, oh, that's a nice bit, I might just take that for myself. And that's something, that we're working on systems for that. At the end of the day, it wouldn't make or break the project, but it would also be frustrating if you felt that some of the better stuff wasn't making it to where it was meant to be. In time, over the long period, we'll aim to bring the processing in-house, and then that will be, totally under our control. But there we go. There's two challenges, two difficult things. Right. Highlight one key milestone in Jade Vault's journey apart from the commencement of sales, and discuss how it signifies company progress and future prospects. I think that's pretty simple. I think getting Jade into the UAE, I think just generally around the world, people feel comfortable about storing stuff in the UAE is a very, very, very safe place. We've already got enough assets underpinning the shares that in the worst case scenario, they could be sold off and everybody get their money back. We would love to talk about the upside, but you also got to talk about the downside.
Hey, Will.
Yeah.
There was a question that I answered in the comments on Telegram as well, which was a similar question. Can you move the mine? And I said, you can't move the mine, but you can move the material. And that's what we're doing, to make sure that it's stored in a safe place.
Yeah. No, the mine is essentially land, and land can't be moved, but you can dig it up and put it in containers, which is essentially what we're doing. I'm just, as I'm going, conscious of time. Is there a time limit on this? I guess it's a question to Tom.
We are okay. No, we have no time limit, but this is up to you. We really appreciate your time. We are learning a lot.
Okay.
And it's super interesting, like a masterclass, mining masterclass.
Masterclass. Oh, well, in that case, I'll just go on for hours. Okay, no, it's fine.
No, but really, just manage your time appropriately. This is up to you. We really appreciate your time.
Okay, good. All right, no, I'll just keep going. I just didn't know whether there was a cut-off time or something like that. So
I have to ring off at 4, Will, that's all. But obviously you guys can keep going. Yeah.
I can, you know me, I'll just keep talking. So. That's fine.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. So where were we on the questions?
There is one that's down here, which it says if Bitcoin was not appreciated as much as expected with the next halving into 2024 for macroeconomic conditions, would your mining business still be profitable with rewards cut in half? It's a good question.
So you mean if the Bitcoin price didn't go up?
Yeah, I don't think it affects.
Yeah, they're not related. Everything we do is related basically to Jade and the Jade market. Now, if the Jade market collapsed, that would affect us. Bitcoin that doesn't affect us at all. The only thing that probably affects us with Bitcoin is if the price is going up, then there's lots of rich people around spreading their money liberally, and everybody benefits. But that's not directly related to our project. That's more of a general thing. That's great. Yeah, James, if you see more comments coming in, like questions coming in there, I'll just answer them. We'll just answer them as they come up. Okay. What is your most important goal in the next 6 months? Sales. Sales create positive cash flow. Positive cash flow means that we can grow the company faster. So sales. And we're working on that. We've done test sales. We've been very pleasantly surprised by the results. And we need to work on getting material sales completed. Right. Next question is on next section. Sorry, is on blockchain competitors, technology. Why are we different? So let me look into this. Well, the reason we're different is nobody's doing this with Jade. Nobody has access to Jade on this level. So there aren't any real competitors. There are obviously companies doing stuff with gold and diamonds and stuff like that. But I've already mentioned with those projects, you can't buy cheap gold, right? So you don't get the arbitrage that we get. So that really makes us different. So next one, what marketing strategies do you have planned to increase the validity of your brand? And are you planning strategic partnership to level up your projects? Okay, so I guess it's really a marketing question. And this is, in terms of marketing the physical jades, that's done in China and it's done in a very specific Chinese, way using certain platforms, which I'll go into later. But in terms of marketing Jade City, which is the blockchain side of things, there will be all the obvious things, the Discord groups and the social media and all that stuff, and we'll be ramping that up as we move further into that side of the project. But Jade City, one of the core things which will bring a community together is we are going to have NFTs, not just NFTs of blocks, but you will have citizenship to the city. And the whole process of citizenship, they'd be called the ancient tribe of the Jadites. That entire thing is going to be gamified. It'll be lots of fun. And we're going to be doing a mint where essentially there'll be a mint of 7,000 citizens. And the lowest level of citizen is a miner. Sorry, Kevin, but that's your level.
We always knew that, yes.
I know. I was there too, so that's fine. So there'll be those minted, and then your target will be to raise up. There's 8 different levels, and you can raise up those levels by lending money on the platform, by fulfilling certain tasks, and ultimately at the very peak of the pyramid, there's 100 royal family members, and there's a lot of fun and games going to be built into that. So I won't talk about it too much now, but that will do a lot towards building the community, and obviously all of the fun that we can have around that. This project, our light paper, I'd encourage any of you to read our light paper on the Jade City website. It has caught the attention of, certainly some very influential individuals in the space. It's not the time now to activate that. It's too early. But yeah, when the time comes, there's some, people who are, well, I won't say anymore. But yeah, there's caught people's attention, definitely. And also, one of our co-founders is the head of Crypto AM, which is one of the largest crypto media outlets in the UK. So we kind of, it's very useful when one of your founders basically has a newspaper. So that specializes in crypto. So that's very useful too for our marketing. Next question. Are you planning strategic partnerships to level up your project? Yes, in simple. Jade City is going to have a whole gaming game. When I say gaming, I don't mean gambling. I mean computer games, but essentially where you can mine Jade in computer games. We're not game builders. We're not going to build it, but we are already in discussions with companies that do build games and have already built games. And yes, that would definitely be a lot of gaming partnerships. Then also just on the actual physical side, fashion companies, jewelry collaborations, and then partnering, that's obvious. I'm already with conversations. The whole ethically sourced Jade thing will be a big story. And then blockchains, we've got to build this on a blockchain. And we're already in discussions with big blockchains who are very interested in us building. So it's a question really of us choosing where we want to build. Can you tell us, next question, could you tell us if Jade City will offer any rewards within its platform? Yes, the whole premise of Jade City is that you'll be able to stake stable coins and earn tokenized Jade. For example, stake 1,000 well, I have to choose a stable coin, USDC, let's say, stake 1,000 USDC, and that gets used to purchase Jade, process it, generates a hell of a lot of value for Jade Vault. But then and a little bit of that value, but it feels like a lot if you're the one lending, goes back to the lender in the form of tokenized Jade. So lend $1,000, let's say, and get $1,000 back at the end of the year and get $250 of tokenized Jade. That's how the rewards work. And depending on what level of citizen you are, your rewards get bigger and bigger. Okay. What are the benefits of your project? Do you believe it's a project worth choosing? Obviously, yeah, we definitely believe it's worth choosing. Our heart and soul's in this. Kevin's more than anybody. Yes, I mean, we really, really, really believe in this project. I left the mining industry 10 years ago to go into education. And although I still do blockchain education once a month, for fun more than anything, this took me back to the mining industry, despite me thinking I never would go back. Okay, good question. Next one. Now that technology is changing every second, are you afraid that in the future, Jade Vault will lag behind new projects with newer technologies? Do you have a plan for this? Okay, well, our project is fundamentally based on the value of Jade, which has got nothing to do with technology. If no technology is going to change Jade, but if a new technology comes out, and this technology is some magical technology that allows you to sell more stuff or makes it easier to use blockchain or just makes Jade City better, and we can adopt that technology, then it's great. So I pray for as much new technology as possible. I think that would help us, not hinder us. Number six in this section. Next question. Pump and dump schemes are becoming a major problem in the crypto space that needs solving. Could you please tell how the team will prevent whales from manipulating the price and ensure the price appreciates? Okay, well, nobody can guarantee a price will appreciate, but obviously we can do everything possible. So I'll describe some things that make this different. So first thing is, initially, all of the tokens are in the hands of the Jade Vault shareholders. That's people who, hopefully will, live, breathe, and love the project. So it's not just random people who are buying a token to speculate. That's the first thing, which obviously creates dumping, as everybody thinks they're going to do their 20x, 100x, and then dump it. So that will help a lot. So that's really good. Obviously it's not possible to totally prevent whales getting involved. But if they want to become a whale, they've got to go and buy the tokens out of the free market. So, it's not like they can just, pick them up for next to nothing in a token sale. That doesn't really exist. And then also the way it's designed is there'll be constant buy pressure on the token. The profits of Jade City get used to buy the token, the JCT token, out of the market and give it back to the stakers, right? So that creates constant buyer pressure. So, that goes a long way to preventing that happening. Right, next section of questions. We're getting there. I think we're like 2/3 of the way through. Blockchain community. Do you allow suggestions and feedbacks from the community? Are we allowed in decision making? Do you put community into consideration? Okay, so our community at the moment is shareholders. We actually have about 200 shareholders. We've actually made an effort to have a lot of small shareholders as well, which you don't normally do in a private company. But in this case, we want to build a community, so we did that. Yes, we communicate with our shareholders all the time. I mean, quite literally, I think every one of them has my phone number, so they can. It's very easy to communicate with us. A lot of our shareholders have a lot of skills, whether it's legal skills or blockchain skills, and we are constantly, communicating with our shareholders and getting them involved. So yes, when it actually gets into the blockchain platform, that we'll also have ways that you can do it, as token holders. But right now, it's kind of like a kind of a bit of a family in a certain way.
That same question was asked by Minu, and they finished by saying, so I'd like to know who your ideal consumer is for Jade Vault.
Consumer as in, do you think that means investor?
I think the user of Jade City or the investors themselves. Yeah. Okay. Well, our investors are very broad in terms of, there's blockchain people, there's mining people, there's people who just like to invest in private projects. There's a whole range of people. So who's the ideal person? Well, I think somebody who actually is not just looking to make money, but actually believes in the project. We're doing something quite adventurous. We're doing something very fun, something very different. And I generally, as we're running the project, we want to deal with pleasant shareholders who are there to support us. I know that's a very general answer. There's not really a type per se. As for users of Jade City, in the early days, the NFT community, crypto community is a small community when you compare it to the people in the world, even when you compare it to the people who own Jade. So obviously we start with, people who like NFTs, people who like to speculate a bit, people who like to get involved in that way and like to invest in it. And then we grow that community out into where we cross over into the Jade community. And the people who buy Jade as a demographic has gone from 10 years ago, generally being an older generation of 60 plus, to actually being younger people. So the online trade of Jade, which I think, Kevin, was 2021. I think we got the data for, was 36 billion or 39 billion in China?
39 billion, just online Jade trails. That's official numbers.
Yeah. And that was mainly girls between the ages of 18 and 35.
The demographic is completely reversed. It used to be grandmas and older people. Now the big buyers are buying online, not in the Jade markets, but online, and the demographic is 18 to about 34. And 70% of those people are young women.
Perfect. There we go.
On that point, I've got to shoot. So great to participate. But you guys will get on with the crypto discussion. Bye-bye. Thanks, Tom.
All right. Take care.
Bye.
I'd also say that in terms of the perfect customer or who our client would be in Jade City would be, people who want a little bit more security in terms of what they're investing in and want to sort of see something that's interesting and backed by, something like a commodity. And someone who sees the crossover between Web 2 and Web 3 as well, with a lot of gamification, DeFi, and NFTs as well. So it's a bit more fun and a bit more secure.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the whole citizenship thing, the way we've designed it is, I'm personally just excited about playing it myself. The thing. So yeah, it's going to be really, really, really cool. Okay, next question. Okay. How will Jade Vault value its community, and in what ways? Well, I think the best probably way to value our community is by trying to make them rich. Obviously our community is our shareholders. We start off by, obviously you get the share. Let's say if you spend $5, you get a share, and that gets backed by a kilo of raw jade, which then gets processed. So that's the first bit of value, and that generates some jade that goes into store to underpin the share, and some that goes into the market to generate cash. So that's block number one of value. The next thing then is to give our shareholders, like I said, essentially airdrop our shareholders the JCT tokens. You just get that automatically. So that's another way we look after our community, is by giving those out to our shareholders. And then the third way is actually, once we have finished the purchase of 5 million kilos, keeping in mind that we've already done 1.4 million, but once we've done 5 million kilos, the shareholders will actually be given shares in the underlying asset, in the mine itself. I don't generally talk about this too much, but it doesn't take a great deal of imagination to realize that that's probably as valuable as the Jade Vault shares themselves. So that's a massive uplift in value there. And then also depending on how much depending on how much somebody invests, they also get citizenship. But that's obviously more fun than anything else. So that's what we got on the agenda at the moment. Obviously, as things grow and build, we'll work out other ways to help our community. Okay. Can you build a strong and supportive community that is forever a success? So this is an interesting thing with crypto projects and anything that involves DeFi. They can build a community and they can be very generous to their community for about 6 months, but then it's not sustainable because either it's, a sort of inflationary problem in the tokens. So this whole thing that we've built, in terms of the rewards, okay, now this is not our shareholders, I'm talking about the community. These are the lenders. These are the people who come on the platform and lend, which will be the larger community because our shareholders will be a smaller group. We have designed it that if the lending pool was to operate at $75 million, which is a lot, okay, but assuming that's its cap, right? So assuming it was full to its cap every single year, we have enough jade to provide rewards for 8 years. That's just the reward jade. And it's not going to be full from the beginning. So that's probably going to be 10 years or 11 years or whatever. So, in terms of blockchain time, that's almost as long as Bitcoin's existed. It's quite a long time. And, if it runs for that long, then by the end of it, everybody's going to make plenty of money. So, and then we can work out what to do next. So yes, we have our plan is about a long-term thing. This is not a flash in the pan. It's not a 1-year job. Okay. On your website, you state that many people still do not understand the technology and innovation behind blockchain. What will be your most important strategy to get your community to know and believe in the crypto thing? Well, this is a more of a general thing, I guess, outside of it. I personally have been involved in education for 10 years. I co-founded a school in India, which I actively worked on, for about 8 years, very involved in it. It's a high school in India called Lavana Public School, designed to get kids into engineering college or university. And then when I got into the blockchain space, I actually did it through creating something called Encrypto Hub, which was an education platform. We actually built a curriculum for live delivery in London. And we still do it once a month. We actually we fill a room with 15, 20 people, and we do a live one-day education day. If any of you live in London or UK or whatever, and you want to come along to it, just ping me a message. It's free to attend. So anyway, sorry, off on a tangent. But anyway, yes, I do believe in education. So I do as much as possible. Now, the reality is the average person is not going to learn to use a MetaMask wallet. It's just not user-friendly enough. For us, who, maybe we can do all that and we love doing it and it's fun, but it's too complex. So we actually need to make Jade City something where you can use in a Web 2 type format, i.e. you can, get an account, log on, use your credit card, and essentially we kind of manage it for you. And there are companies that provide these services for companies like us, i.e. we don't have to build this from scratch. This already exists. You just integrate it into your platform. So that's really it. It's really just, marketing, telling people what's up and, and about the whole project, the excitement, and then just making it super easy. Because, and also having instruction videos, like when you come onto a platform, like any Web3 website you go onto, it doesn't tell you how to use it. It's just got nothing. It's, you know, and you know, build the whole platform to design to teach people, you know. And so anyway, there we go, education. And there'll be lots of education about Jade on the platform that will increase your yield by passing your Jade exams. Okay, so next question. Okay, funny question here. Do we get a special price as a community to buy Jade directly from Jade Vault? Nobody's ever asked me that before. I guess if it's enough, we could work something out. But yeah, we've got plenty of Jade. Why not? Yeah, and we're in the business of selling it. Next question, the language barrier. How do you plan to solve that issue? Do you plan building communities for people in other countries? Well, obviously, Chinese language is going to be very important. The Jade City platform will be built in dual language, certainly Chinese, and then we'll explore other things, whether we do Thai, you know, is another language that we might consider. So yes, but absolutely Chinese, definitely. Okay, you got one?
Kylie says, I feel like a radio DJ now, but Kylie says the bear market condition has caused little or no inflow of liquidity into the DeFi market. What do you intend to do to onboard more users and attract liquidity to Jade Vault?
How will we attract liquidity to Jade Vault? I guess this is with regard to the lending.
Yeah, I mean, my view on it is the way that Jade Vault and Jade City are constructed with having a tangible asset behind the actual DeFi, it's a lot more attractive than just being told that you know, you're going to get 200x each month or each year. We're very realistic. You can, as Will said earlier, you can read our decks, white papers, everything, and they go into quite a lot of detail in terms of how the revenue models work for DeFi and everything else. So I think it's just knowing that actually is not coming out of thin air, and there is an equation behind it, and there is material behind it, and there's a lot of thought behind it as well. Will attract people to use the DeFi.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think that's absolutely it. It's the amount of attention to detail and thought. You know, this is very different than the average DeFi project. You know, there's substance. You know, sustainable substance, and it's fun as well.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. Let's see. Okay. What measures have you implemented to prevent and mitigate potential cyber attacks and hacks? Well, Jade City it hasn't been built yet. So, you know, obviously, like, this is a major thing. In with DeFi protocols, you know, particularly, you know, when there's lots of coins, like for example, okay, in our case, stable coins will be locked in. Stable coins will be lent into the DeFi protocol, and stable coins will be returned, you know, with your interest payment after 1 year. But the stable coins are not staying on the protocol. It's not like they go and they get turned into, you know, actual dollars in a bank, and they get used to process Jade. So it's not like we're going to be sitting on massive pools of stable coins. It literally just will go get used in the real world. And then when it needs to be claimed and sent back again, it'll be done. So there will never be massive pools. So in that regard, on the JCT token staking, there will be there'll be bigger pools of that. Obviously, when it comes to security and blockchain, we will be essentially employing the best people to look after that. I will be very, very open. You know, I'm not an expert on cyber attacks and hacks and that side of things, but I am good at managing risk, and we've got, you know, sensible senior people in our team, particularly somebody called Onyavin, one of our advisors from Cointelligence, is, you know, very, very hot on this, and we're working with a company called Titanium to help us build it, and etc. But it's not built yet, so I just can't really go into that much detail on that. Okay. Next one. Okay, tokens and the use of tokens. So we covered some of this already, but we'll get into it. One of the main factors. One of the main factors users looking to get into crypto projects is to consider what are the use cases of the token. So what are the use cases of the token on your platform? All right, well, there's two tokens. So I've already said there's the token which essentially collects the profit, right? Which you stake and collect the profit. That's the tokens you're given as a shareholder. That's the JCT token. So the only purpose of that token is that basically it's your ticket to collect a share of the profits. And the more of it you've got, the bigger share of the profit you've got. That's what that token does. And that's quite useful in itself. It's almost a bit like owning shares. So that's one token. Then the second token is the Jade token. This is the utility token. And the Jade token is the token that you get rewarded with if you lend money. And the Jade token is pegged to a gram of Jade. 1 Jade token is 1 gram of Jade. So let's say you had 1,000 Jade tokens because you lent enough money or you bought them out of the market. You could then take your 1,000 Jade tokens and you could burn them in the, we call it the mine, the digital mine. You could burn them in the mine and you could turn that into 1,000 grams of Jade. So let's say you could turn that into an actual cube of Jade that weighs 1,000 grams. Now that cube would come in the form of an NFT, but that NFT is a scan of a real cube sitting in the safe. And if you actually want the physical cube, you would then burn your NFT and take delivery of your cube. So if you can imagine, we'll have small cubes, 2 kilos, 1 kilo, 2 kilos, 5 kilos, 20 kilos, 100 kilos, 500 kilos. The smaller cubes would be more useful. It's almost like a retail thing. It's actually quite fun. I've got cubes of Jade at home, and they're great. I don't know why they're great. They're just great to sort of handle, and they look nice. It's like an ornament more than anything. But then the larger cubes is more for B2B. So 100 kilogram, 500 kilograms, get it delivered to your factory and turn it into whatever you want to turn it into. So that's the function of the Jade token. Right. What blockchain? Okay, another question. What blockchain? Well, we're getting there. Actually, we're now over 3/4 of the way through. What blockchain do you want to use, and what chain will your token be based on? Okay, so that is a very good question. There's obviously all the established blockchains that are about, and then there's lots of new blockchains on their way up. So what will make us decide? Well, we are essentially holding conversations with several blockchains at the moment. You're probably all aware that most blockchains have foundations. And if they think your project's a very good project, they can be very generous with their foundations in terms of getting you to build on top of that blockchain. So that's one element to take into account is, obviously if somebody's offering you lots and lots of money to build in a certain place, that is a factor. But the other thing that's important is actually to build in the right place. Don't build in the middle of the desert, where nobody's going to use it, or build on a blockchain where the technology is no good and doesn't fit what we need. So we are weighing up all of these things at the moment and trying to look at kind of the ideal scenario. I have my favorites, but I'm not going to share them on this call because.
And I think it's important to say, got a lot of experts on here, I think. So it's important to say that we're open to discuss with other blockchains as well. And we also realize that being multi-chain has its advantages. And there are new chains that are out there that are sort of building that into their DLT at initial stages in any case. So it's an open discussion, I think. And a lot of platforms that I've worked on in the past, we've developed onto multiple chains. It's inevitable when you're dealing with so many users and you want to create that mass adoption. It's important to sort of be where you're most visible, but also user friendly as well for sort of Web 2 consumers. Yeah,
absolutely. I think that's probably that. Question: will it be possible to exchange your NFTs, your Jade NFTs, for finished Jade product? Yes, I think I've answered that before, but yes, if you got a 1 kilogram cube NFT, you can literally burn it, and you have to pay delivery, obviously, and you can get the physical piece of Jade. Everything is backed by real stuff. That's the whole point. We are actually in a couple of months' time going to be doing something called our Genesis block NFT sale. There's going to be 100 blocks. So very, very limited edition. And it's 100 kilograms of Jade in 1 kilogram blocks. Those Genesis blocks are going to have all kinds of special things attached to them. So I'm just saying that is going to come up. and but there won't be many available. But it will be a proof of concept in terms of us showing how it all works, and hopefully some people burn their NFTs and take the blocks, and hopefully some people don't, and then they can all have arguments with each other about who was more clever for burning or not burning, which will create a lot of fun. Okay, right. Okay. Sorry, I'm just going to the next one. Okay. There's questions on the benefits to Revenue Capital, but I don't obviously work for Revenue Capital, so I'm probably not going to answer those. Obviously, the benefits that we see to Revenue Capital is we want to make, through investment, we want to make a lot of money for Revenue Capital. That's the first thing. And also, I think this project could be a flagship project for anybody to be involved with. I think, particularly with the blockchains protocols we're speaking with, they're looking at this as like something that actually going to make, particularly the newer blockchains, something that actually make a kind of a name for them. We were the guys who launched Jade City. So there we go. Right. And now I've got 7 miscellaneous questions. Does Jade Vault plan to have an ambassador or content creator program? We don't have one yet, but we absolutely do plan to have that. If somebody's interested in getting involved in that sort of way, please make contact with us, and yes, and there will be all kinds of rewards for getting involved and helping out. Building a community is a community effort. So yes. I like this question because it's got a double meaning. Are you planning on partnering with famous rock artists? So I'm guessing that doesn't mean like rock stars. Maybe that means rock carvers. Or maybe it does mean rock stars. I don't know. But assuming we're not planning on partnering with any rock stars. If it means rock artists, as in carvers, yes, absolutely. And we're already actually working on this. With Jade in China, there's the value of the underlying rock, which is one. But then who carved it can add an enormous amount of value. And as we have some enormous pieces of jade, we're actually looking at trying to do a very big carving and get a very famous rock artist involved in that. And that's all in process, and it won't happen in 5 minutes, but yes, absolutely. And that's a really good thing for the PR side of things. Questions about the UX and making it good and not turning off users. I think we've been pretty clear. Yeah, that's super important and often ignored in the Web3 space. Yes, make it friendly, and also make it friendly for Web2 and have instruction videos. Question about language. We've talked about that, Chinese. So that's something we'll cover, and we can consider other languages, particularly with ambassadors. If we'll be getting ambassadors on board who can kind of obviously spread the word and talk about the project in the language, other languages, European languages, and all kinds of other languages. What's your strategy to dispel people's doubts about this project? Well, I think with any project, it really comes down to team. You can have the best idea in the world, and I quite honestly believe that this Jade project is up there with a good idea. But at the end of the day, if the team doesn't deliver, it's all for nothing. So you've met several members of the team. We've all had quite varied careers. We've built, particularly in the mining space, we built stuff. We built businesses. We've had our ups. We've had our downs. We're just normal people who've built stuff and experienced life. And but all of us have had some big successes as well. I think Kevin probably wins that prize with he built a company from nothing that sold for $300 million. So I don't have anything to level with that. James, you got anything to level with that one?
I've done okay, still working on it. I think this could be the one.
Yeah. I sold out my first project age 30, which was good.
Yeah. I'm on that note, I'm involved in I'd say probably about 10 Web3 projects, and I advise on quite a number of projects as well. and do various other things involved in a tech park in the UK, and obviously my role in Ralston-Saul DAO. So yeah, we're very connected in terms of this industry, and but there's always new people to learn, to meet, and new things to learn. So it's a pretty exciting space, and I think the crossover between real world assets and Web3 isn't boring. It can be boring, but in this case, I think the teams produce some great results in terms of the imagination of what's to come in gaming and DeFi and NFT space. So I think it's going to be really popular.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, who are your current advisors and backers? Well, I think backers, we have a range of private individuals. We also have a few institutions who are already involved. So if you want to see our advisors, I would recommend going on to the jadecity.io website. I would say advisors that immediately come to mind is On Yavin from the Coin Intelligence Fund. On is very well known in the space. Coin Intelligence, I believe, was actually very well known originally for it was calling out scams. So On is he's very well known for that, and also the education front, and also he has his own fund. So I think On, I would say, very, very important. Also Consensus Capital, Antonio Berger, one of our advisors, Wesley Alul from Quizando. There's a very good group of advisors. I'd advise you just to have a look at it on the website. They bring us, I would say, plenty of credibility, and they actually get involved, which is great. Out. Okay. And then final question, last one, and then I will be quiet forever. How did you come up with the idea of creating your project solution? I guess that's aimed at Jade City because that's the more creative part of it. It was a lot of conversations. It didn't come immediately. For the first 4 or 5 months of the project, there was no Jade City. We kind of knew we wanted to do something in blockchain, but the right idea hadn't really come to mind. So it was just Jade Vault, and then we kind of had a various collection of ideas, and then one of the people on our team, Otto, actually said, well, if you called it a city, then those collection of ideas would fit together quite nicely. So then Jade City was born, and then we really started to brainstorm it, and it's many hours of discussing stuff, and occasionally arguing about stuff, and debating stuff, and we've come up with it, and it evolves. I mean, it constantly evolves. The light paper will be updated as we find improvements to it the whole time. Guys, I think that's the end of it, unless there's more questions on the chat or something like that.
I think that's all, guys. We want to thank you in the name of Revenue team and our community. It was really amazing to have you. It was super fun. We learned a lot. You're very passionate about the project that you're building. For me, it was really, really interesting. And actually, we have more questions for you, Will, later, not now. So don't worry.
Right. You can call me.
Yeah, we'll be in touch for sure. So I will only ask you then, when you have time, just select 3 questions that you consider are the best or the ones that you like the most, and we will reward them. So you just give me the names, and we'll make sure that they will get their reward. So again, it was a pleasure to have Kevin, James, and Will. Thank you for your time. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Lovely to sort of get some great questions and have that interest. And thanks for your time as well, Tom.
Yeah. Hopefully, it will help investors to make a more, let's say, a precise decision. So thank you. We love it. Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
All
cheers.
Right. Take care, man.
Everyone.
You too. Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.